This is JD from The Voice Party. This week's episode is brought to you by All Roads Overhead Garage Doors. Call now, 510-375-8756. Proudly serving the Bay Area since 2002. Also, hablamos español. That means they speak Spanish. Free consultations. You got old garage doors on your haunted garage. You got some important stuff you need to protect, or maybe you live in your garage because this is the Bay Area. You got a whole family living in there. Give us a call. All Roads Overhead Garage Doors. Yeah. Are we recording? We are now. Sweet. Thank you for joining the Voice Party. We have our new guest today, Miss
Dani California.
Dani California. That's what you go by.
Yeah, this is my artist name.
That's your artist name. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we have our guests, our hosts here. We have to. We do this thing where we introduce. You know what? Can we start that over?
Yeah,
God damn it! I didn't.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll just put a cut there.
The intro, and you did podcasts before.
Yeah.
We did. The last one went really smooth. I don't know what happened right now. Maybe.
Well, the last one we did like 5 in one day.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. So by the end, it's just like, all right, fucking whatever, go.
Yeah.
But we do have the intro for the podcast. So
thank you for joining the Voice Party.
We also usually warm up a little bit before.
That's true. I know. You look like you just came in and you're like stiff, like.
How much does that record? Like, how much can you record? Is there like a magnitude of how much?
I got 11 hours left on here.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you had last time?
Well, last time my card was full, so I had to erase a bunch of shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he uses that for film. Oh, these guys are filmmakers.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
I too am an artist. I rap. So.
Ooh,
oh yeah, yep.
Okay.
And
what do you do? You sing?
I've never tried singing. I wish I can one day.
Mm-hmm.
I dream of that. But as far as what I do is just I've done painting. I can do portraits, photography. I edit my own photography as well. I love like fashion. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, the visual arts.
Yeah, I can illustrate too. I just like that avocado right there. That's one of my illustrations.
Oh, nice.
Like using computer and stuff, but.
So you can send that to us.
Yeah,
so we can post it on the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We just went to your art show. Well, the art show you were at on, what was that, Saturday? Friday.
Oh yeah, Friday.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
That's where we got the photo up there.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, I don't know if I showed it to you already. Yeah. How long is that your first time ever at an art show displaying some of your work?
I've been at other art shows. Like I've taken part of other art shows before, but this is the first time showing my photography. Mm. The last time I was at an event was with Nancy Garcia. She was also at the event, at this recent event.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She hosted Female Fame, and basically a bunch of female artists come together, and my role in that one was doing fashion modeling. Okay. So I had like a whole runway and like women of all sizes and ages like doing modeling.
Where was that?
This was in Richmond.
At the bridge? Because I know there was a fashion show at the bridge recently.
I forget it's just been like a while, but it's by Footsco.
Oh no, yeah, that's
Richmond.
I don't know what that is.
For performing arts, I believe.
How nerve-wracking is that? Like the runway thing?
Huh?
That's got to be nerve-wracking. Like,
I think it was nerve-wracking only because I try to gather women together, and at the end, like. Close to the event, no one was showing up. Oh. So I was like so nervous. I was like, oh my God, like if they don't show up, like does this mean I'm gonna do it? Does this mean like it's not gonna go through, Yeah. Like I already set up, everyone can see that there's a setup for this. So like if they don't show up, like I'm gonna look bad, but literally everyone showed up like last minute and it still was a good turnout.
Oh yeah. But like the actual like when you model you're walking down the runway, or that's what it's called, right?
I think I'm mentally prepared.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think for everything you do, first time is going to be a little nervous.
I get nervous, like when I go on stage, because I have a waddle when I walk, like a penguin. So just thinking about walking like in front of people, I don't know. I get nervous. I'm just speaking on my own personal, like,
Mm-hmm.
So you ran that show.
Well, not the show itself. Oh. I was just one of the artists there, and like my role was bringing fashion modeling into it. Yeah, and then there was like other female artists that, you know, just like the last show, they set up a table and they displayed their art, photography, paintings, you know. But mine was just, I wanted to do modeling. Like, that was my focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that, like, I know you do a lot of that. Is that something you want to keep pursuing? Or, because, you know, I mean, you're involved with a lot of things. Like, which one is, like, your, I guess, the one you want to pursue the most? It's a hard, I mean, because everything, doing all of it is fun, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I can remember, since I was little, one thing that I used to always tell my mom is like, oh, I want to be like Selena, you know?
Yeah.
So I think doing modeling was like an easy way to start somewhere, you know? Like, I work with one person and, like, you know, it's very private setting. We're outdoors in nature, and, like, you know, I pick out my own outfits. And
oh, really?
we just, like, everything I've done is very improvised.
Yeah.
I don't really I have a vision, but I don't go by that vision. I don't stick by it. I feel like
you improvise.
Yeah, I improvise. I go with what I have and what I got, you know, and I just put myself in that situation.
Is that, how long have you been doing that for?
2 years.
2 years?
I've been modeling for 2 years, yeah.
Is there a fashion designer that inspires you more than any other?
That's why I like having him. Those questions I would have never thought of, man. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. So, you know, I was a journalist for like a couple of years.
Yeah, so. That's what I need. I'm over here talking about my penguin walk. And then,
I wouldn't say that I have a particular fashion designer that I am influenced by. I think I'm just influenced by, like, everyday people, you know? Like, I like to see, like, some people just express themselves, and I don't even know that person, but they're walking, you know, down the street. They're, like, you know, the hallways of my school, and, like, I'm just like, wow, like, that's a pretty cool outfit, you know? Like, I feel like I get inspired by people around me, not necessarily, like, a big influencer, you know?
Like, everyday people who put together their own,
Plus, I don't really watch a lot of television, to be honest. Like, I feel like most of the time when I'm with people, you know, like, they're talking about movies and they're like, oh, yeah, do you know this actor and all this? I'm like, no, but I think I've watched that movie, you know? Like, I honestly feel like I've strayed from TV.
So you're not a Project Runway kind of person? Are you familiar with that show?
Project Runway, I feel like I am, but no, not entirely.
I have friends that are obsessed with that show. They take, like, high-end fashionistas and aspiring designers and have them compete. There's one guy in particular, I think he's like super famous, Tim Gunn is the name, and he is the end all of all opinions on that show, if I recall correctly. And they just give these people different materials and different challenges and say, make a dress, make attire for men with this, do this, and then they let them kind of sweat it out. Sometimes they work in teams, sometimes they work solo. I don't know, like, I think anytime people get a chance to truly express themselves through any medium, whether it's clothes or painting or music or film, you know, it's just something special. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think the only kind of show that I've watched is a series, but like the Tyra Banks, you know, she does the modeling. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, I love that. I used to love watching that, like seeing the women break down and like breaking in tears. Like, they just cut their hair and, like, you know, they have to embrace that, and, like, basically I feel
diets like, would make them go crazy too. I remember that, right? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about diets, but maybe I
don't know. I'm thinking of a different show.
No, you would have to be on a diet though to keep that kind of form. Yeah. Right. Like,
that's the thing. Now that's changing though, because
I'm glad.
Yeah. Because it's a lot of bulimia and a lot of insane. I don't know.
Right. Shouts to body positivity. Right. Like, there's being healthy, and then there's, like, going too far with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you feel about, like, all that's going on? Like, you say that, thank God for that. Yeah, but, like.
Well, I personally believe that all women are beautiful. Like, every woman is capable of being beautiful. It does start with just, you know, being able to embrace that and saying, you know what, I am beautiful. Looking at yourself in the mirror every day and telling yourself you're beautiful, because not everyone's going to tell you you're beautiful, you know? And, you know, growing up, I did have, like, a lot of breakdowns, because I've just felt like, I think it had to do with the trauma that I went through, but I always looked at myself and I was like, why can't I be beautiful? And, you know, I wouldn't really have that support, like, when I was younger from my family, you know, because they didn't know my hopes and dreams. I was always very quiet and kept to myself. But you know, yeah, just growing up, like being able to defeat all these obstacles that I had to go through within myself, I try to like preach that to other girls, you know, they're women too, that, you know, being beautiful just means like, you know, doing your hair in the morning, picking out your outfit like the night before, you know, like little things like go a long way. Sometimes just getting your nails done, buying nail polish, putting it on, you know, I like looking at my nose and be like, wow, like this color is really nice, you know, like little things like that.
And it is brave to go out and like, you know, put yourself out there in like a shoot, because I mean, when I go to the beach, I look like this. Like I'm, you know, being proud of your own body. Like it's not easy, man.
And that definitely goes for guys too. Like, you know, I like women, and I'm so glad that body positivity is taking off in the way that it is, and it works both ways. Like not just for the women, but also for the dudes. Like there's a meme that totally like just encompasses this whole vibe, and it's like there's the picture of the Barbie, and it talks about how, like, you know, women unfairly have to compare themselves to this like manufactured plastic sort of symbol, and it's like, but men on the other side, there's like this He-Man Masters of the Universe figure, and he's like this bulk buff, just muscle upon muscle god, and it's like that's what we have to be, right? Like, quote, air quotes, you know, like
not necessarily, you know. Really? I can speak about like male and like how they feel as well. Like, for example, I recently dated a guy like not too long ago, no names will be said, but anyways, he, you know, when I first met him, I thought he was the best thing, you know, he was a personal trainer, and you know, but like I came to this point where I found out that he was doing steroids. And after we were dating and I knew this, like I felt a little different. He asked me how I felt about it, and you know, all I can say is just like, well, I don't know, like how, I don't know, it's your body, you can do, I can't tell you what to do, but like I just don't want you to hurt yourself, you know. And you know, he left the steroids, and then you know, I would say like within 2-3 months, like you can tell there was a drastic change in his body. Like he went like, you know, completely down, and like I was just like, well, you know, I didn't want to have blame, because you know, he felt a certain way about me and then I influenced him, you know. But I personally still don't believe that that's the right way to go, you know. Like, I feel like, you know, if you really work hard, like you're gonna have to go through the pain, you know, not find the easy route. You have to put your work and sweat and time into things if you want them to, you know, flourish, basically.
It's hard. It's hard to go the hard route.
I wonder how we got to a point where like we're like, okay, these are the standards of beauty, and it's like everybody seems to agree, you know, especially when you look at like mainstream Hollywood or whatever. It's like everybody's trying to go after the same look, and it's like there's 7 billion of us, like we don't all have the same opinion, so why are we agreeing on one
standard
look?
I would say that standards of beauty go all the way back to ancient antiquity. Like no matter what culture you look at, but specifically in Western culture, we're looking at the ancient Greeks, right? Like look at the statues, look at their gods, right? Like they're all chiseled, and for some reason they all have giant gray beards. Like, so I guess they had a thing for like the elderly back in the day. Apollo shaved.
Oh yeah,
right.
Okay.
But
yeah.
You know, so it's an interesting thing.
When was the era when they were into bigger women? You know those paintings I'm talking about?
Like
I'm trying to think. I know what you're saying.
Victorian?
No, I think that might have been like just before the Victorian era, or like doing something like that. It feels like
weird,
like
but it changes every like, you know, like back in the 90s, every model or like the actresses, well, I guess the early 2000s, everybody was real skinny. Super skinny was the thing.
I remember Jennifer Aniston getting like really small throughout Friends. Yeah. Everybody was
just trying to be super skinny, and like it changes. I mean, it's cool now that, you know, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I still don't feel accepted.
It's like you're like, my time has come.
But honestly, because I also see it as better to be healthy.
Agreed.
And just to be accepted as a fat guy, because we were just talking about this earlier. Do you? He asked him, and then I felt offended. No, he said, "Do you accept yourself as?
No, do you identify
as a fat person?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "God damn, I do."
I mean, be honest with yourself too. Like, I identify as a fat person.
Yeah,
like,
he lost a lot of weight recently too.
Still fat,
but yeah, in the mind. If your mind is fat, your body will not. Yeah. But it is, you really got like put yourself out there when you do like the modeling, and it's really vulnerable things. So
Yeah,
that's hard to do. We did a photo shoot. I was wearing like my jacket.
Yeah.
Did that? Like you said 2 years ago, was that harder to do back then? You talked about the trauma earlier, and
well, this is me diving deep right now.
Yeah.
But basically, when I first started doing my modeling, I worked with one photographer. His name is Lois Cano. I believe on his Instagram he goes as Brujita, but he's really cool person.
Okay.
He when he first started his like artistic career, like he just started doing photography with me and other people, and like my experience with him was very interesting. Like, he was probably one of the best photographers that I've worked with. Not that any of the other ones aren't great. They're great in their own accord. But with him, it was very personal because not only was he the first photographer I worked with, but we went through this whole like life-changing like, I can't even explain. He changed me, like he cut my hair just like the Tyra show, and he was like, you're gonna love it. We're gonna give you a photo shoot and you're gonna like it. And I was just like, how? Like, oh my gosh, okay, I'll do it, because I was going through this time where I felt like I was going through a breakup actually, and I felt very like unloved, and like it was really hard for me to like feel okay. And he was the only person that really reached out to me and was trying his best to make me feel better, and I was like, he's like, well, what do you like to do? I'm like, I don't know, I've always had dreams, but like honestly I don't know. He's like, well, we're gonna do something. Like, I have a camera, you're great at speaking, just tell me what you need. And I was like, okay, well, I always dreamt of doing photography, let's start there. And then he's like, okay, we did this whole like photo shoot. Then he's like, okay, now we're gonna cut your hair. And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, you're gonna cut my hair? Like, what do you mean? And cut my hair. Not only did he cut it, he dyed it, and photo shoot. Some of them I was just like, oh, I don't know, but looking back at some of the photos, I can't imagine that, I don't know, that I didn't love myself, like I was like, wow, like when I see these pictures, like I can see the love, like I got the love like through people that barely knew me, like it's really inspiring, like to have people around you that show you that love, and
they pull you out of like a bad time. Because I've had that with certain friends, like well, he's not here, but we talk about that. Like, it's important to have those people who are kind of like a creative healers, who can pull you out of bad moments and in turn inspire you to create yourself. And now you're got other things going on. You're working on a book. And so like I was gonna tell you how I was gonna dive deep. That's not diving deep yet. But basically, I worked with that photographer, and after that, I had like I started posting my pictures on social media. So this is something I want to tell like the audience, especially for parents with young girls that have dreams. It's like, be careful, who you trust, because there are people out there that will take advantage of you. And I say this from personal experience, because after I started doing, modeling with this photographer, I had people reach out to me, and I was like, oh, okay, like, like they want to do photo shoots with me, but, I didn't just go with the first person that, wanted to do a photo shoot with me, of course. But I had someone from my own high school reach out to me and, saying, oh, like, I can help you, like, I can help you find a way so that you can have a car. And during this time I was struggling, I was working at like a grocery store. I had to walk like almost 2 miles to get to, every day. And I was living in Pittsburgh. It's really hot out there. Oh, yeah.
So I used to walk to work and everything. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm very interested in your ideas. I is a guy, I go on a date with him, and, basically I talk about this more in my book.
Yeah.
But it was just one night, and he took me down a road that I didn't want to go through.
Oh.
And this is the first time that I'm actually talking about it, and publicly, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, I was like a victim of human trafficking.
Oh wow.
And hadn't I come forward, I was really scared when this happened. But he told me, he's like, you know what, like, we're gonna do this again, like all this, and I'm gonna come pick you up the next day. I ran away from my home, I was like, I don't want to, I just ran away, went like all the way to like another city really far. I didn't even know what I was doing there. I was by myself, and I was just like, I just don't want this person to find me. I was not only scared about my safety, I was scared of like my family and friends, He threatened me, I was like basically in a very, very hard place to be, like very vulnerable and scary. I think the word would be scary. I was very scared. And yeah, I talked to my best friend, who he's like my best friend of all times. But he basically encouraged that I talk to the authorities, and I did, I immediately, probably, I want to say like 2 days after, I went to the authorities, and, I told them everything that happened to me, and basically, yeah, they arrested the guy after they were able to find all the evidence, and
wow.
Yeah, he's basically locked up.
And this is somebody you knew already?
Yeah, someone. Yeah, I don't really want to say names.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
obviously,
no. I'd rather not say names
but
at all.
it's someone that
to be
I
honest.
felt I could trust.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like I could trust that person because, not only did we go to high school together, but
Sorry to interrupt. It was your age?
Yes,
Wow.
he was my age actually.
Yes.
Yeah, and very crazy time. So this was, again, I had only worked with one photographer, and then I trusted this person,
Mm-hmm.
And all it took was just one date.
Wow.
For my life to be like at that time ruined,
Yeah.
And
That's a scary thing because it yeah, like you said, one date.
Mm-hmm.
And it's someone you knew and someone you trusted.
Mm-hmm.
That's
it's like what does a person say to another human being to get them into something like that?
yeah.
So the things that were said, I think most of it is just putting fear into the victim, and that's what he did,
Yeah.
telling me, he knew my family, he knew where I lived, like, well, when you put my family in the situation, like, how do you think I feel, like, my family's lives are at stake at this point,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how I got out of that, I just feel like, like, again, like, I remember growing up in high school and, like, going through this, like, stigma, the police, don't trust the police, I've heard that time again, but I couldn't trust anyone. Like, I trusted this person who I thought I could trust, and, I couldn't trust anyone, so I just had to trust. I had to put my trust in God, and, and I did, and, yeah, I'm glad I did, but, yeah, I went through so much after that, like, it took so much out of me to get better. But I've gone through therapy. I never imagined myself going through therapy, honestly.
Good for you, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah.
good for you.
That's
Definitely.
It's impressive that all the things you're doing, and you went through that. Like, a lot of times because I went through something where I had to leave town. I had to hide for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not the same thing, but something along the lines of well, I don't want to get into it, but so when everything was okay, it took me about 3 years to like even do like stand-up comedy again. Like, it took me a long. I just I didn't want to be seen in public. I didn't want to. So
yeah.
So I know how that I don't the fact that you did therapy, that's great, because now like you're doing a lot of things, but just to trust any person, I'm sure, is still hard to this day. Definitely. I imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like how does one go on another date ever again if one date led down this spiral, right? Like, you are so resilient to pursue a career diligently in the way that you have, and I see that you're very upbeat, and I think our listeners can tell that you've been very upbeat up to this point, and the fact that you wrote a book about it, that's so healing, right? Like to actually talk about your life story and let that pain drip onto the page, because without that expression there's no healing, right?
Right.
You know.
Go ahead.
So this person took you out to Pittsburgh, you said?
No, I lived in Pittsburgh
you
at
lived
that
in
time.
Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yeah. That person actually came from all the way out here, from like this area.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Went to go pick me up over there, take me out on a date. And it was just the worst experience. Like, he wasn't alone. And I think that's why I was more scared, is that,
I wanted to ask you about that. Like, in that experience, like, I'm sure, I don't know how to call it, like an innocence cloak was taken off, like being in that world or seeing that. Because I used to install home alarms in one of my last jobs. And one of the cases was a weird case that they sent me, someone sent me that the FBI was involved. And it was, you hear about it on TV and stuff, human trafficking, So when you actually come across it, like you see how big of a thing it is in real life. That case for me, it was a family that their 3-year-old was almost abducted by the boyfriend of like the son. Like, it was that the mother had a 3-year-old and one of her oldest sons had a girlfriend that girlfriend was connected to a family of human traffickers.
Wow. And
they tried to kidnap the 3-year-old, and I was there installing cameras because and the FBI was involved, and they didn't want us. The house was empty, and I was there installing by myself. And I would look outside the door and kind of cautious because apparently they had came to attack the family multiple times.
Wow.
But that just for me, that just let me know like this thing is huge. It was a family of people in Napa that were running a human trafficking operation.
I'm super paranoid about that sort of thing. I hear that like sometimes you'll be at the grocery, like come and snatch your kid.
I heard of that.
Yeah, and like I have a 4-year-old, so my mom's like, "Oh, can I just take her with me to whatever?" I'm like, "No, sorry," and she gets mad at me, rightly so. But I'm like, no. Yeah, I'm hella paranoid about that sort of thing.
There's nothing wrong, and I'm not a father, but I'm close to it. I'm a godparent, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being. I'll tell you a story right now. I was in the car with my godbaby, and her mom was chatting with a relative of hers, and then like this phone call goes off because she's about 10. She's got her own cell phone, much to my own chagrin. I feel like 10 is too young, but whatever. And I don't realize what mechanism is calling her, but I see this name, and we're just gonna say it's light-skinned James, right? And I'm like, who is light-skinned James? What is it? She's like, I don't know. You've never met this person? No, they're just dialing you. What is this? She's like, oh, it's Instagram or whatever. I'm like, hang up now, right? And then she's like, I know him from the community group that I go to. I'm like, oh, why didn't you say that? And how many Jameses do you know? Is there like a dark-skinned James? I was like, why'd you do that? She's like, because I knew you would react that way. React in what way? Overprotective? I'm like, it's not overprotective, honey. It's protective. Like, yeah, real talk.
It's just caring about someone's safety, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we take that for granted, when we are safe. It's not until you're like placed in, an unsafe, environment when you realize, wow, like I wish I was home right now. Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone. I wish I wouldn't have gone out. I've been like, I remember instances where like shootouts would happen. It's like I kind of wish I was home watching Jackass right now. Like, yeah, no, yeah. But so how did I don't know if you mentioned this. How long ago was when this happened?
I want to say 2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago.
Because this happened literally after my modeling started. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I have a question. I do photography, and I mean
a year ago. Because it was like a year after all this. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So I've never I would never do something like that, right? Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes as guys, we live in our own world, and how do I say this? Like, okay, I guess the question is, what is, aside from like straight up harassment, what is something that photographers maybe don't realize they're doing that
male photographers
that maybe you're not comfortable with?
Yeah.
I with the photographers that I've worked with, I haven't experienced anything that I would call uncomfortable. I feel like the settings I feel comfortable in because of the way we carried that out.
Yeah.
So like, for example, the first photographer, he was gay, so like I felt super comfortable. Like I vibed with him. We talked about like boyfriends and it was just very comfortable setting. The second photographer that I worked with, her name is Mariela Vega, and we worked together. I worked at a Barney's Burgers, and really, really good place to go to. By the way, if you like burgers, oh my goodness,
best onion rings I've ever had.
Yes. Oh, the milkshakes too.
Oh man,
delicious.
Is it blackberry chocolate?
Yes. Oh, you just said my favorite.
Speaking your language, huh?
Yes, but so I worked with her, and that setting is comfortable because she's a female photographer, so it's very comfortable. I've also worked with another person that I worked with at Fenton's Creamery, and he had a really nice car, and he met my mom, like my family, so I felt like that's what made me feel comfortable as well. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, let's take some photos. And again, I picked out my outfits, and I had my friend there with me. So I think it whatever you do, just make sure that like the setting and the environment is like a good one, basically that maybe it's during the day. Make sure you bring a friend with you, because I feel like
you as the model,
me as the model, yes, like bring someone who who can be there with me, basically.
Especially like when you, like, let's say you go into the woods to take a shoot. I'm sure that's
I took him to the woods.
Yeah,
he took me.
No, I think it's also for the sake of both of not only you and the photographer, but like like it's just two people. You can't do that.
No,
like it's kind of creepy. You don't know.
Yeah, no.
Safety's always important.
Yeah, there's people out there. I don't know, crazy people out there.
Yeah,
I don't even like throwing the word crazy, but
No, but it
like if you get more specific, murdering psychopaths.
There you go.
Are out there. Let's not, because there's different forms of mental illness. The bipolar depressive isn't necessarily going to murder you, but psychopath will. So you know.
And there's I mean, as a beautiful person, you attract a lot of those fucking crazy people.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I've been driving, and I have like, I was just driving, and then there's this guy like sticking his tongue out at me, like the weird one, dude. Like I'm like, oh my god, I act like I didn't see it, just like and even though he's like right in front of me, I'm just like, looking past him.
How often does stuff like that happen to you? Like, not even with I mean in general, how often do you get?
I think not as often as you would think, mainly because I feel like I'm usually around people that like are there to take care of me and stuff, or I always have someone around me that's watching me now. But I feel like I get random messages like on social media. That's where I'm like,
that's a new thing, huh? That's like our generation thing.
Yeah.
I remember there was a model I was friends with, and she used to post stuff that the dudes would send her. And
I've seen those stuff.
Horrifying stuff, man. Like, Jesus.
It's like no one asked for this.
Yeah.
Why?
It's just out of nothing. The dude would they would create scenarios and like, you're not replying to my shit. What the, like. And it's just dudes creating shit in their head.
Just so lonely and
or the comment sections. Jesus, that's another fucking.
Yeah. That's public forum that with no privacy whatsoever.
No.
And I think when you're behind a screen, there's a certain distance you feel between you and whoever's looking at that. There's a certain freedom that gets perpetuated, and you get to really know who people really are when they're typing things, right, as opposed to what they say to you in public, right? Because it's easy to forget that other people are going to look at this, right? It's not just the person that and oftentimes you see the images on screen that are typing, and the avatars are stuff like, here's a picture of an anime character, here's a Power Ranger, here's the and people just feel. And it's kind of sad that when people feel safe to say whatever they want. Like their first thing they do with that is to say the most erroneous, like horrendous things. It's like, what in the name of, that's what you do with your power? That's who you really are, though. Like, people get superpowers. Instead of saving the world, they're running around trying to make a profit off it or dominate it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of sad.
Creepy online. With all the things you could do online, you're being creepy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you could teach yourself to do. I mean, that's a whole other thing, but that's online is one that you experience a lot, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, has it gotten real bad before, or like, I don't mean to ask about this thing. I'm just like, I'm always curious as like a woman's experience.
Yeah.
Because like a dude,
that's what I mean. Is that we're in our own world.
We're in our own world. We're over here like, man, I wish somebody would message me.
Nobody's gonna harass me. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's never harassment. Like it's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm always curious, like, what your experience is like. Because I mean, I'm speaking for myself. Like, if someone messages me, I don't know, we're like, hey, what's up? What's going on? It's all good. It's never harassment.
I mean, the closest thing that I ever got to being harassed online, and this is embarrassing to admit, and I kind of knew it was a setup, but it was like someone on Facebook, and it was a picture of a really cute girl, added me, or I requested, and I was like, all right, sure, whatever, like, because I'm in the business of sharing my material, whether it's music or the films I'm working on, whatever. I don't care about adding strangers to my Facebook. If anything, please let me send you something, right? But
Really?
but right,
Really? You don't like adding strangers? Like,
I said I don't mind adding strangers. I don't care about adding strangers.
Okay.
Some people are like, "Oh, I don't like adding people I don't know." I'm like, "No, please, like if you don't know me, add me so I can show you this awesome stuff." But anyway, like a few days later after I added this person, they're like, "Oh, I'm very lonely. I'm a lonely housewife. Do you want to do some sexting? Do you want to do some?" And I'm just like, "What? No, that's kind of," and I know this is going to sound weird, but I was just kind of like, this sounds like a setup, A, and B, like, look, I'm a romantic at heart. I don't just like get down with strangers like that anyway. So even if I didn't think it was a setup, I still would have been like, this is weird. But then like, they're like, let's just video chat just once. And I don't be shy. And I just got tired, so I was like, let me just go ahead and press yes, so I could tell this person they're crazy. And instead of it being like an attractive person, like female in like what looked like they were their 20s, it was a it was like a bloated, like porpoise looking dude in his 40s who whipped out his junk and started, and I was like, no, and then like I went to go block that person. I went to block that person, and the person had blocked me first, and I was like, oh, well, so much for my clean Facebook record. Now I get blocked for who knows what behavior. I was gonna be like lewd, I was gonna snitch, right? But nah, that's like the one negative thing that's ever happened to me.
It broke your heart that it wasn't a beautiful.
Honestly, no, it broke my heart that I didn't get a chance to chew the person out, because I was about to be like, look, you weird harasser, like, because I had a feeling it was a catfish moment, but I just wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah. Creeper moments. I've only had one creeper moment, and it was when I was working at Comcast. And I went to a customer's house, and it was this older white lady, and when I walked in, she was in her like, what is it, the robe with like almost nothing underneath, and she had a drink. It was 8 a.m. Oh, the cable guy, yeah, come right in. I'm gonna go get another drink. I thought it was just cranberry juice, it's 8 a.m. I'm walking in, and I'm in the bedroom doing whatever. I forgot. I think I was installing like the internet, and then she comes into the room and she sits down. And she says, "So how old are you?" I think I was like 23 at the time. I'm like, I'm 23. Like, cool. You got a girlfriend? I'm like, oh shit.
Oh no.
No, I don't. And then, okay, you're a very handsome guy. I'm like, cool. I don't know how to, cool. Yeah.
Didn't even ask how
my
you're
mom
feeling.
would agree. Yeah. And then it got weirder. Then she came back, and then she was like right by here. She was talking to me. Her head was right by my head, and I'm on my knees on the floor, and then she says, something, and then like, maybe you should give her your number in case I need help with this later on. And I could smell her breath, like straight up vodka. Like, I was like, oh, okay.
Sounds like a cougar moment.
Yeah. But it gets weirder. So then I give her my phone number, which was my work phone number, and I give her my work phone number, and she says, oh, no, I mean your personal. I'm like, oh, before I leave, I'll give that to you. And then she sits down. It's like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, me and my husband aren't having sex anymore. I haven't had an orgasm in 2 years.
My goodness.
And I want to give you my card so that maybe one day we can go get lunch. And I'm just sitting there. I was like, you know what? I think I do have a girl. No, I didn't say that, but I was thinking, like, how do I get out of this? This is awkward, man. So then some dude my age walks in and says, Mom, seriously? And I was like, oh, fuck.
Awkward.
Very awkward.
That was hella awkward. I got out of there. I didn't even finish the job. I called my boss. She's like, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, man.
That was the only like creeper moment that I've had that made me uncomfortable. Like, I'm here working and I have no choice.
I'm so glad your boss was supportive and he wasn't the customer is always right. Go back in there and
finish the job.
Lay them pipes, boy. Like,
there was another instance where this dude wanted to kidnap me, or he wanted to keep me in there until I finished the job.
What?
And I pushed my way out of that one though. So that, I mean, that's a different kind of a creeper. I don't know.
That's more of a like, I don't trust that you'll come back to finish this, so you remain here.
Oh yeah, he got in the way of the door.
Though.
You got in the way of the door.
Right.
But this is when I was boxing.
Yeah.
Like,
see what I mean? Like,
Stephen King wrote a novel about this.
Which one?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember.
Misery?
Misery. Yep, that's the one.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
What do you mean you're going to kill that character off?
Mm-hmm.
Whoops! Oh, now your leg's broken. I guess you have to write the story the way I want you to.
Oh, man.
That. Speaking of writing the story, like, you're writing this story. Like, is this the story you're writing?
Well, it doesn't focus on that necessarily.
Okay.
Like, when I first started writing the story, it was like 4 years ago. But I literally started with the illustration. Before it was ever a story, it was an illustration. So
is that the one on the cover, the avocado?
Yes.
Okay.
So during that time, I was actually I was studying at Contra Costa College, and I was working in the Advocate newsroom. And
you ran a podcast.
Yes, I used to do podcasts there.
Nice.
Yeah.
What a coincidence. So are we.
Yeah.
Not there. No, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but so yeah, basically I started off in the journalism program, wanting to like tell stories, talk to people, and I think what I wanted to get out of it most was being able to, talk to people and not being nervous, no matter who that person is.
Yeah.
Because I used to feel like, oh, I can't talk to even a teacher. Sometimes I'm like, I'm too nervous to talk to the teacher, ask a question about something that I didn't really understand. Like I had a lot of nerve, like not to like ask someone for help. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to like enhance my communication skills. And I got so much more out of that, actually. I was, basically, I learned how to write, how to tell a story, who does what, when, where, how, why, and, like when I started the program, they noticed that I was, very artistic. So they're like, oh, can you actually start doing like the illustrations? We need an ed tune, and we don't have anyone else who is willing to do it. And I'm like, well, okay, sure. Why not? And then at that time, I actually had a boyfriend within the news organization, and he was also an illustrator. So I was very inspired by him. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, like if he can do it, I can do it. And I always wanted to be the best. I was like, I wanted to show him I can do it. It's just love.
Yeah.
But I basically I started doing illustrations, and then I started working on like a little bit on like web design, like designing the page. But I didn't get so much into that because we also had like a podcast for the student newspaper going on, and the person who was working on it, his name is Tashi. He was gonna leave like within that year, so he's like, we need somebody to come in after me. And I was like, I've done it before, I've done little videos here and there, nothing serious, but I'm willing to do it. I started basically putting together all the podcasts, typing out basically what we're going to talk about, putting my voice in it initially. And then, you know, it was a very interesting experience because, you know, some of the people that were, you know, coming into the podcast, they would like get nervous. They're like, well, I don't know how to say it. I'm like, well, I can write it out for you. I can type it out for you and just read it, but read it with a voice like you're not reading it, you know? That's the hardest part for them. They're like, okay, I'm trying not to sound robotic. I'm like, yeah, just, you know, read it like you would, like, with excitement, you know? But yeah, like
that is a skill to like talk to someone and not get really like not get nervous. For example, I just met some of my heroes over the weekend, and I had in my head, like, if I ever meet these guys, I'm gonna ask them this and that, you know, like, because, you know, if I ever get someone that I really respect like that on here or whatever, like, I really want to be good at asking them articulate questions about their art or their music. It was musicians. And when I met them, like, you know, in my head I was like, all right, I saw them from far away, like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to them. In my head I was like, I'm not gonna be weird fan, you know. And then when I got up to them, oh my god, I'm a huge fan of your art. You know? And I couldn't control myself. I was like a little kid. Yeah. So that skill of being able to just talk, it's.
Do you think all of that time spent with the advocate would help with a celebrity?
Like just talk to a celebrity?
Yeah.
Of course, but I personally feel like I wouldn't be nervous to talk to anyone in this world. You know, I would want to talk to the president of the United States, you know, and say, hey, what's up? Like, you know, maybe not get into personal stuff that, you know, like politics and stuff, but I'd be like, oh, like, you know, things that we can relate to would be cool. You know, like, hey, so is the White House haunted? Like, do you hear things, you know, like
human conversation?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's the best kind of conversations, the ones that are like, you know, that just aren't really influenced by anything, or, you know.
Yeah, because you see how like a lot of journalists now, they're just probing and trying to get a reaction out of whatever. It's very biased, both sides. Like, you know, and it's good to have hear a talk about something without any kind of agenda.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, so my book, like I mentioned, it started with the illustration.
I want to talk about this for sure.
I feel like during that time when I was doing illustrations for the paper, I went through this whole like spiritual cleansing for myself, you know, like I was solely drinking water. I was eating wholesome foods, you know, like I was really just aspiring to be the healthier, like best version of myself at that time. And not that I don't continue it now, but, you know, once in a while I cheat, and I still love burgers, you know, I love tacos and all that stuff. But basically I drew that because I'm a believer of like the sun, and like I believe in God. I know that everyone believes in God maybe in different ways, but I can probably interpret it in all the ways that people believe in God as, you know, like the force, you know, like follow the light, you know. I feel like all that's positive, like that's God. Like God is within us, you know, like we reflect God in a way. And staying with God is like, it's like a way of living, you know, that makes people feel like a little lighter. You're not so heavy or like down, you know?
Yeah.
So I try to stick with God, and like, you know, when I start feeling down, I'm like, okay, time to meditate, you know, time to listen to some good music, you know, with no words, no like this and that, you know, like I just want to listen to something positive, and that gets me going, you know. I'm like, okay, I feel better now. But yeah, basically for me, like God is the sun. And I say this because like I was going through so much, and like I turned to medication of like cannabis, because that's actually where you met me, you know, working at Green Remedy. And like I was like, okay, well, you know, cannabis is like it's friendly, like a lot of people use it, and you know, it's a plant, like it's good, you know. So like when I started working there, like I felt really bad about certain things about it, like you know, I just feel like smoking isn't for me, you know. I'm okay with people smoking, and like I'm okay with being in a room with people smoking, but I'll stray from it, you know. But
it doesn't create a hostile environment.
Exactly.
And for me personally, like, you know,
but like when I was working there, I would always try to encourage people that really had serious like problems. Like some people really had problems with like, you know, body aches and like certain things, you know, like I don't know, like so I've had patients that come in like with cancer and you know they're really hurting, and I'm like, oh, okay, well,
CBD cream,
CBDs. I always, you know, I encouraged edibles more, you know, but I think that's my own like bias. I was like, I just think it's healthier, you know.
Do you use it still recreationally or?
No,
you don't.
I've stopped.
Oh, you stopped?
Yeah, I've stopped. Like I've tried to like restrain from like smoking and like alcohol. Yeah, like drinking. When it's like family settings, however, like I don't mind having a beer. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, but like I don't drink to get drunk. You know, I want to be just social, and that's it. Yeah, and plus it's refreshing.
Yeah,
it's refreshing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so like the book, right? So
I wanted to talk about this illustration. There's a story here. I'm sure. I don't know if you guys saw this. It's an avocado, and there's what do you call this thing here?
So that's influenced by like Mexican culture, you know, like when you think of like little designs like
on the calendar, the Aztec calendar,
or like even like a guitarra, you know how they have
yeah.
So
and
that's
a child
basically
with balloons walking inside, or
so the avocado represents like the seed of life, you know, like we are all like a seed, you know, we start off as a seed. Sometimes we're two and there's twins, cool. But so we're like a seed, and like for me it means like the avocado represents my heritage, like my culture. I'm Mexican, and avocados originate from Mexico, and I love avocados. The little girl is a representation of myself, and she's wearing a pink dress because it's also a representation of myself, like my femininity.
You celebrate your
femininity. Yeah. But you know, being a female, like I take pride in, you know, who I am, and just being kind, being soft, being loving, you know, I think those are attributes that, you know, a woman should have. You know, we should be kind, we should care for others, you know. And the little girl, she's a little girl because, you know, that's how I felt, you know, growing up. Like I could be 20, and, you know, I always felt like I was like 15. Right now I'm 24 and I feel like I'm 17. You know, like I feel like I'm a kid at heart, and that's like what it represents for me. And her looking into the avocado is her looking into the light, you know. She's looking into life, she's looking into the sun. And the reason why I have these like the primary colors all into this illustration, like I have yellow, blue, red, green, pink, you know, is because like I feel like when I found this light, when I found the light of day, when I found the sun, like that's all I needed. You know, I realized that I didn't necessarily need anything else but that, you know. You know, like for me it meant like being able to see hues, like colors, like more. When I was going through that detox that I was talking about, I literally was able to look into the sun, and like I felt crazy because I couldn't explain this like spiritual experience that I was going through. And I remember talking to my boyfriend at that time about it, and he said, you shouldn't do it. And I was like, but it's just strange that I can, you know, like you can't do it, I understand, but like it's calling me, like it makes me feel so happy when I'm there, you know.
The sunlight,
the light, like it literally, the first time I saw it, it was like this ray of sunlight just going through my eyes, through the socket of my eyes, down through like, you know, my throat, down to my chest and into my heart, you know. And it felt so beautiful. It felt like the feeling of like my mother hugging me, you know. It was like the most beautiful, like all peaceful, loving experience I could have ever experienced. So like, how can I stray from something that was so like pure, you know?
Yeah.
And like, you know, I was like, well, you know, I'm sorry that you don't believe in it. Like, I know, like, even when I Googled searched things like, oh, looking into the sun, everything said, don't do it, you're gonna go blind. But then my boyfriend at the time told me, he's like, you know, maybe instead of saying looking into the sun, why don't you say gazing into the sun? Because you're not just looking at it, you're gazing at it. I was like, okay, so I Googled that. And then apparently there's people out there that do it, you know, that experience this, that I'm not alone. And that felt pretty cool, you know.
Quick question about that, real quick. Did you say worship sun, or you just believe in it? You like a higher power, like God? That's what you see as God. Was that something that like you were brought up as, or something you discovered within your detox?
I think I discovered it within my detox.
The reason I bring it up is because there's I forgot. I was reading somewhere some ancient texts that like the when they say our risen Savior, that saying goes back. I think before Jesus, and this specific thing that I was talking about, they were talking about the sun, because if the sun doesn't rise, then we die.
Exactly.
It's our risen Savior, and it hasn't. Yeah, that's like the origins of that. When you brought that up, I just like that. I remember that thought. So that's.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Aztecs worshipped a sun god, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, so did the Greeks, Apollo.
Yeah.
Back
Basically
to Apollo.
everybody.
And it makes total, and the Egyptians, Amun Ra, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it just makes total sense that this thing that sort of gives life to plants, gives like light to, like beats back the shadow, which people were naturally afraid of before they understood that night is not harmful within itself, right? But you're ancient mankind and you're in darkness and it's spooky and bats are flying around and you're like, oh no. And of course you're going to be like, this thing that allows me to see where I'm going and must be worship worthy, like surely. So it seems like a very common sense thing to do when you're trying to figure out how the world works, to maybe assume that on any planet with any group of people, you'd assume probably the sun was a god, right? I mean,
And then the duality of it too, because it does do all that, and then it can also kill you. So you got to respect it.
Exactly.
well, you know, I mean, skin cancer is a
Big thing.
newly discovered thing, though. Like, not everybody knew that skin cancer was caused by too much sun exposure. So
I mean,
you know,
back in those, they didn't even know what
they
germs
probably
were.
they probably
You
just
didn't live
thought-
long enough to.
Yeah.
Right, you know,
Exactly.
They probably just thought it was some sort of witchcraft.
Yep.
Like the old lady, like down the lane, cursed my son with this.
Oh no, like in Apocalypto, where all the spores and you know, remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but sorry, yeah, I just wanted it because that when you mentioned that, like I started thinking about that, and yeah, like in ancient cultures, like the worshiping the sun, which in some cultures is different. The sun meant something else, but yeah, no, that's pretty cool. That I want you to continue. I just wanted to. No, but you were saying that you gazing into the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is. Jesus.
Sorry.
It is. I mean, you know, I'm a sunglasses wearer. I probably should detox myself, you know, but you talking about this it interests me because there's some things that people, when they say they detox of like a lot of stuff, not just like the food, but like certain, you know, other things that just, they can do things they weren't able to do before.
Yeah.
Is
Like,
that right?
well, for me, it meant like, I noticed that there was a change in my energy.
Yeah.
When I was like gazing at the sun, like for me, like what I felt out of it was that like I had more energy. Like I was like, what do I do with this energy now? Like I feel like I just had coffee. Like that's how I felt, you know? And I was like, okay, well, okay, I would like, you know, exercise more. And like, you know, oh my gosh, one of the most amazing things that I was able to do was swim like longer lengths. And like, you know, I felt like I was able to control and regulate my breathing better, you know? And I also feel like that not only did I get that from like, you know, having energy from the sunlight, but, you know, also doing meditation helped me, you know. Doing meditation teaches you, you know, the regulation of your breathing matters.
Is this how short your hair was?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when I met you, you had short hair.
Yeah, I had short hair.
You see?
Yeah. I think this is the shortest one. This one. Yep.
So, I was gonna ask you with that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, before I cut my hair like that, I had a fear for cutting my hair.
Really?
Like I used to have my hair in high school like almost to my butt. Like it was super long. And even getting a trim, like I would freak out. And like I'm like, no. You know, I even cried once, and it wasn't even like short, you know, it was still long, but just I had a fear for it because when I was very little, when I was like just recent from Mexico. So this is, I don't know if other people will relate to me, but I came from Mexico with lice. So, you know, my mom was just like, you know what? Easiest way, just shave her. So they shaved my head.
How old were you?
I was like 3.
Oh.
And like,
yeah, you were born in Mexico. I forgot to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was 3 and they shaved my head, and I remember just looking into the mirror.
Brought over
and
that
I
Mexican
cried.
lice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So then I think I was just traumatized, and, you know, going through this photo shoot, him cutting my hair, like, I was like, oh, I don't feel beautiful anymore. But he's like, no, we're going to make you feel beautiful. And, you know, I learned a lot through that experience. It's like, you know, make the best of what you have. Like everything you think is only your own perception. Like, just because you don't see yourself that way doesn't mean that the next person won't see you the same way you see yourself. Like, they're gonna see you differently. They probably see you as the most beautiful person, you know,
because you're
I saw a meme that said if you don't find yourself attractive, you're just not your type.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love memes. Like, literally, that's my thing.
Yeah.
If you're not happy, go scroll through memes. Like, yeah.
I read something online that suggests that like no one really knows you. There's actually thousands of different versions of you, because everyone that you meet either only gets to know a portion of you, or you are filtered through their own experiences and their own worldview. So like, you know you, but your parents know a different you, your colleagues know a different you.
Yeah.
And even when you're trying to be transparent and honest, like everyone just kind of, it's almost like it's parallel universes, right? It's like there's the you from Earth 42 who's like this crazed criminal mastermind, but then there's the you from 43 who's mommy's angel. Who are you really?
Yeah.
That's like when your coworkers and your family meet. Like, yeah, look, he really does that at work. You're like, yeah, that's he doesn't act like that here.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I was gonna ask. I meant to ask you at the show, but I don't know if you feel comfortable.
Okay, go ahead.
You're a dreamer. You're
Yeah.
a DACA recipient.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How has that been also like? Because I know I have a lot of friends who are DACA recipients, family members, and like, are you scared with all the stuff going on right now?
No, I kind of
especially the experience of a DACA recipient, and like right now,
it's honestly, I just live by this motto. I feel like the worst fear you can have is fear itself. Like, there's nothing to fear, you know. Even if, you know, I guess if we were deported, I'm like, okay, well, they don't want us here. We're gonna make a good life out there, you know. Basically, make the best of what you got, where you are, you know, like. There's nothing to fear. I don't feel like, you know, if they deport me, like, I'm pretty sure my family's gonna go out there. If they deport my family, I mean, maybe I'll go out there. You know, I like it here.
I'll write to you guys.
Right. But I mean, I think that's
it's not a good. It's
unjust.
not good. Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's not right. Especially because we all know that, you know, the United States is founded by a bunch of immigrants. So there's no common sense in deporting us, you know? Like,
especially when you, like, the dreamers, everyone that I know, you already like embraced American culture and you are American.
Yeah, and honestly, it defeats the purpose of there ever being such a thing called dreamers, you know? Like, why would they make me pay like $400 for this card that allows me to work here? Like, I paid to work here. I paid you guys so that, you know, like, yeah, like, I want to work, you know. It's like everyone else, like, we want to work, we want to make a living, and, you know, if I'm paying you, you're like, you should give me that, you should grant that.
What was the process of doing because I heard different things from different people, and you know, this guy told me he paid this much, and then this guy told me he paid this much. I'm like, oh, okay, is it like a set thing?
Honestly, I think like anything in this world, it's like, you know, who you know sometimes. And I say this because like me, for example, I've worked with when the Dream Act started, you know, part of my work in the past was like helping other dreamers apply for DACA. So I was familiar with the application and the process. So, you know, coming back, you know, like, I basically left that area of work for a while, but coming back to having to put in my paperwork again, you know, because you have to renew that every like 2 to 3 years, depending on what time frame they give you. But yeah, because I knew people, I was basically granted, you know, that I was waived that fee. So I didn't have to pay it. Like the lawyers? You knew okay. Yeah, so, you know. So it depends on the lawyers then, right? Yeah, the lawyers. But, you know, even now, there's some places you can go where, you know, if you show that, you know, maybe you need help and, you know, there's lawyers that will help you. Yeah. Like, you know, I think that's what we're about. You know, it's nice to get that help, you know, but unfortunately, I'm sure some people don't, you know, I don't know. Sometimes it's just Googling everywhere, not just stopping in the first place you go, you know, like. Shop around. Yeah, look around. Yeah. It's still, I don't know. It still seems unfair though. Like, you know,
the process to.
Oh, it absolutely.
Having to do
It's
that.
meant to.
Yeah,
it's meant for you to fail.
Like,
It's
yeah,
meant for
like,
you to have to go back to your
discourage you,
country.
yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. It's like having you pay for a house and your payments are on time. Let's say you've even paid for the house and the bank goes, no, we're repossessing it. It doesn't matter how much money you invested on this. Go away. Well, but I paid the money. We had an agreement. We had a deal. You know,
and then that's the thing. That's also
wrong.
you have to renew. Like you're doing everything by the book. You're not getting into like the trouble. Now you got to go renew every month. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, but
Every
you
year.
appreciate you every year.
Every so many
I'm
years.
tripping. Yeah, it's a month. No, but I mean, I'm speaking like as a lazy person, you know, like I gotta go renew. I forget to renew my tags.
Yeah.
You know?
been there.
That stuff defeats me.
Yeah,
Paperwork
dude.
and stuff
I
like that.
hate doing paperwork, man. So
name
like,
a creative person alive that actually likes doing paperwork, and I'll show you a millionaire.
yeah,
Yeah.
what the fuck are we watching? I'm sorry, I just like
I've seen this.
we're watching
Which one is
Jackass.
this, 2, 3?
There's two
Hacky
or-
sack with a member.
Oh, I haven't
Look
seen
like
3.
So
Jesus Christ. Are you in school currently?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Where at?
I've since actually graduating high school, I've been in school. There's only one. I've only taken 1 year off, but at the moment I am at Skyline Community College, and I'm studying early childhood education.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you did all your general ed at CCC?
No, so I haven't. Oh, and yeah, my general ed. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was working on like getting my journalism, like communications major, but I just switched careers, you know, after the incident. I was just like, okay, let's see what I can get into. And I just basically switched.
We talked at the day of the show. You mentioned that one of the reasons you wanted to switch away or get away from journalism has something to do with interviews. Some people were sharing certain things that you didn't want. I don't remember. Be honest, I was a little drunk.
No worries.
But
No, I feel like just being a journalist, you're can't think of the word.
Bombarded?
There you
Yeah.
go. With so much information.
Yeah.
And like, you know, all the information you receive, it's up for interpretation.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, during that time, like I was just like, it was like Halloween and like Trump was president and like literally I had this patient come in, like, oh my God, shared some crazy stuff with me. And like, he was like, you know, like, talking about like, oh, you know, I sell beds, you know, and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, if you're ever interested, like, you know, it's on for cheap and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But then I don't know how he went from that to like, oh, like, yeah, in my family, like there was a history of like people that, you know, they were racist and like basically all this other stuff. And I was like, oh my God, like why would you even tell me this? You know, like it makes no sense. Like the conversation went from something
beds
to like this. Like it makes, I don't even know how it shifted to that. And like I was just, during that time, I was just really, that installed fear in me. That's what I'm telling you. Fear is the worst thing to have, you know, like, but I was like, you know what? Like I can't, like I literally need a change of like location. I just need somewhere where I feel safe. Yeah. And, you know, working in an ice cream parlor, I'm like, oh, this is cool. Ice cream. I get to eat ice cream and children come here all the time. Like, you know, I needed time for myself, you know, because being a journalist, like I was just always receiving all this information, things that were going on, you know, what the Trump administration was doing, or at that time, I believe he was just barely getting elected, you know, like, or just was recently elected president. I can't even remember, but I just remember like all that stuff. And, you know, it was very unbelievable, you know, like it made no sense. And, you know, here I am a journalist, you know, a student journalist, and people that, you know, aren't going to school and they're my friends are asking me questions like, oh, well, do you know about this? Like, do you know? And I'm just like, you know, everything's up for interpretation. Like just because I read it, like you read it too. Like I don't have the answers, you know, but like, yeah, I never chose to write anything about that because I'm like, why give attention to something that, you know, is irrelevant to me, you know? Yeah.
And then when you get into that, it's like, people force you to like choose a side, even though you're not really you're just interpreting whatever the facts are. I can see why that being involved in that made you not want to. I don't know.
But it was
this journalism.
Exactly. It was just at the time because I feel like I still got a lot out of it, and if I did, you know, like I just need probably like 2 more courses to finish my journalism.
Okay.
But like I I would just focus on the things that I'm passionate about, you know. Maybe telling other people's stories would be ideal, or like, I don't know, like these are more of my dreams. Like I'm very open to like you know, making a series about something. I don't know, you know, like
as a writer, an actor, or what do you mean?
Everything. I want to do everything, you know. Like I would love to make a film, you know. I would love to like make a series of maybe telling other people's stories. You know, I remember in my book I actually talked about how I wish that I could, you know, go into the White House and, you know, maybe talk to even Donald Trump, you know, talking to the president about, again, you know, like, is a house haunted, you know, you know, and just go through how the president's daily day is like, you know, like just, I like to relate to people. And I think that's what my book's focus is on, like, using grammar also that is relatable, you know, that the common person can read and understand, you know, like, I've come across some like writers too that were like, oh, you know, like my book has all these intricate like words and stuff and sentences, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, you know. But I want people to relate to what I write, and I want them to understand what I'm saying. And well, my book is just very it has a lot of emotion. That's
good, because you know, you're always going to have discrimination. And I know that like racist people, they don't want to hear statistics or things like that, but they're more open to hearing emotions or experiences or things that are relatable.
It can be a bridge.
A bridge. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
To kind of connect the, you know, like giving a nice plate of birria to a racist person.
Yeah, absolutely. they wouldn't know, you know, they don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't hate you.
Yeah, all
anymore.
they know.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
I read a study once that said that when people have certain beliefs, whether it's religious or political, even if you present them with cold, hard facts that would negate those beliefs, they dig in their heels. So rationality isn't necessarily the way to go. However, empathy can sometimes open up somebody to feel differently about a cause, as slightly manipulative as that sounds. I mean, I'm a filmmaker. Like, showing things to make people feel stuff is what I do. So guilty as charged. But you know, I mean, that there's something powerful in that, as long as you're using it for you know, a proper cause. I mean, there's or for the right cause, quote unquote, whatever that is. I mean, there's also Birth of a Nation to consider. Ew. Are you familiar with that? That black and white
KKK film?
Yeah. It was sort of like the birth of the KKK, you know, and smear campaign again. That film is a blessing and a curse, because there are a lot of elements in that movie that are used in movies today because it established things, like showing the split screen of things simultaneously happening in different parts of the film. It's like, over here they're shooting those people, and over there they're having dinner somewhere, right? That was in that film for the first time ever. It was revolutionary, and people still use those camera tricks and editing tricks today. But on the other hand, the film's message is arguably nauseous. So
speak like art forms that are very, what's the word I'm looking for, kind of like what you're talking about. Like, that's why I love, we were talking about this the other day, that's why I like going to like heavy metal shows. I mean, you know, they have a bad rap of being like a violent, the mosh pits and all that, but it's like the most diverse crowds that I've ever been in. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I see people with swastika tattoos, and I've seen people with MS-13 tattoos, and like, and you don't feel, I don't feel scared ever in those shows, and it's literally people of all different ethnicities, and I'm sure some of these people are racist, you know, but it's very like it's the music that brings them together, because there's bands of that, you know, they have like a reputation to supposedly being racist, and then they'll go perform all over South America, all over, you know. And I don't know. It's just music. Money's money.
I was gonna say that.
It is. But the crowd itself, you know, like the crowds are very diverse, man. Like, I mean, definitely see more black people, but there is a lot. There is a lot of black people in there. That's the one that I don't see as much, but there's a lot of brown and whites and everything. Yeah. and a lot of emotion in the music. Like, I mean, all music really, but I'm speaking of my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been modeling for 2 years. How long have you been doing illustrations?
So illustration, I think, I guess all my life, like I've loved drawing, painting and stuff, but set illustrations that I saved, like probably just working in the Advocate. Yeah, but I started doing art at Kennedy High School with a teacher called his name is Mr. Manini. You aware of him?
Oh, he is one of the greatest things to ever happen to John F. Kennedy. Yep, I'm calling the school's name out. Shout outs to Mr. Manini. You're the man.
Yes. You
started doing the illustrations in high school?
No, not that specific.
Sorry.
I was just doing like paintings and like portraits of people, self-portraits, and
I have a question for you because we met at Green Remedy. So the detox happened after you left Green Remedy, right?
It happened while I was
you were there. Okay. As far as your artistic, like your I guess your creative eye, when you were in, I guess, smoking and because it changes, it affects it to now where you're detox and you spend a lot of time outdoors.
Yeah.
How has your art changed? Have you noticed any change in it?
As far as like, I haven't focused on illustrating or like drawing, but I feel like as far as like my photography, I've been able to put out more since like, detoxing and everything, because I feel like I wouldn't take it as seriously because back then I would smoke and I'm like, I feel more like lazy. I'm like, I just want to chill here, and not only that, but like for me, smoking got me more anxious sometimes. And being in social settings, I'm like, I'd rather not be here, So yeah, for me, like detoxing made me feel more like myself, and I felt like more connected to the people around me, like not paranoid. So yeah, it made me feel more comfortable.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was just wondering about that because I know that's how we met. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I've had like there was one experience working with one photographer. He like was like, oh yeah, like do you want a drink, and I was like, I'll have one beer, but that's it, just he's like, for the confidence. I'm like, all right, whatever, like I don't even need that for the confidence, but I was like, I'll take it, but like I just prefer to be sober. I feel like I'm just more comfortable anyways, regardless. Like I don't really feel like I need a substance to feel comfortable.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because like I mentioned this before, like, I work construction and you realize like we had this idea that like tweakers are like homeless and whatnot, but man, some of the tweakers are the best construction workers the world's ever seen. And alcoholics, like everything, and it's I mean, substances can be anything. Coffee, like I have a hard time sometimes not having coffee and for my breakfast. And you want to say so?
We're all unique, and I feel like something that works for you might not work for me, and like just everyone's different, so we gotta appreciate our uniqueness.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Another question, going back to what you shared with us earlier, which is very heavy. Now, like, getting involved with someone, is it challenging for you? Have you been able to do like go on a date? And have you been able to do that? Because I'm sure that's gotta take a huge toll on you.
Well, I've been on two, like the current relationship that I am in now, and then the one that I recently left. And so basically I've been in two relationships since the incident. The very last one that I was in was also, hadn't I had a therapist at that time, I wouldn't have realized that I was in an abusive relationship. And, I'm over here always trying to spread my good vibes, like coming from this dark place. That's all I want. That's all I want to radiate. I'm like, you know what? I know darkness, like there's no other way to put it for me. Like I just want to be good. I want to make sure you're okay, but that doesn't necessarily make the next person treat you right, And like I always told my mom, like my mom always said, la suerte de la fea, la bonita la desea, which says like, the right quote on the ugly girl's luck is what the pretty girl wants, because like I, being pretty hasn't gotten me much, you know? Like for me, I feel like I've worked just as hard as the next person, you know? Like my relationships were pretty bad, you know? Still like violent and like, you know,
Really?
I feel like they try to take advantage of me. Yeah, like the last person basically wanted to use, you know, what my following, and they were like, oh, can you promote, can you do this, can you? I'm like, well, this is for me, you know, like you have yours, work on your craft, I work on my craft,
like a crutch.
exactly. And like it just got really bad, you know. And yeah, so I was even taken to court on my last relationship because it got violent. And you know, I told the person, I was like, you know, I just want to leave in peace. The mom got involved because I talked to the police officers, you know. I didn't even call the police. That person called the police. My partner called the police. You know, I was like, well, there's nothing for me to fear here, you know, like, I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to be upset. I told the mother, you know, your son hit me, and I don't want to even press charges. I just want to walk away peacefully. I don't know what you guys want from me. And I felt like they thought that maybe I had more, you know, like they always thought that I had, because I had a nice car, you know, they thought like, oh, like she's probably wealthy or whatever. But the thing is that I've never been the kind of person to ask someone for their money, you know, like I'm the kind of person that, you know, handles my own business. Like I make sure that, you know, I have enough to feed myself, enough to like, you know, have gas and pay my car note and pay rent, you know, like I don't just malgastar. I don't waste my money on things I don't need, you know. And
how do you do that? I'm kidding.
Yeah, but so yeah, they took me to court claiming that, you know, I had caused damage, and that you know, I think the mom was fearful that I was going to like maybe sue or something. Really? I honestly don't know why they took me to court, but I was just like, you know what, like take me to court. I have nothing to fear. You know, I wrote like an 8-page statement, like, you know, I'm declaring under the state of law, California, that everything I had to say was, you know, true. And that, you know, I feel like, I remember one of my friends was like, well, why don't you take a lawyer? I'm like, no, because you know what, like lawyers are great. Like, thank God we have lawyers. There's some people that can't speak for themselves, but I have the education to feel confident. You know, I'm a good writer. What I say and what I state here is the truth, you know, and, you know, I feel like my word is valuable, you know, so there's nothing for me to fear. You know, this man, like he put his hands on me, and he's lucky that I didn't press charges, you know, but I wouldn't have anyways. I just wanted to leave in peace, you know, but they wanted to take something out of me that I didn't have. They wanted money, you know, and I was like, why? Like, it's wild.
You have fixed your papers through that?
I'm basically fixing my papers. Well, it's not even that I'm getting like citizenship. I'm being granted a visa, but I still had to pay money. I had to pay a lawyer, but I'm getting it through the first incident that happened to me.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So this has nothing to do with it, but I even talked to the lawyer about it, and they're like, well, you know, you should like probably just make sure, you know, like they're like, just talk to your lawyer. Well, who is it? My therapist was like, talk to your lawyer that this incident happened, because you don't know what can happen. I was like, okay, you know, but
and your therapist, how long you still?
Yeah, I work with the same therapist.
Okay, how long since that incident? Have you been
since the incident?
What is that? A year? 2 years?
It's been a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Did somebody have to push you to do therapy?
It wasn't necessarily a push, but I feel like back then I used to have like I would never take therapy. You know, I know what I know, but I'm very thankful that I took therapy this time. I feel like it was absolutely necessary. Yeah. You know, but like taking therapy is like the best thing that can happen to anyone. Yeah. You know, anyone who has like who deals with themselves or is going through a rough time. It's just like just having someone listen to you and reassure you that you're okay. Sometimes we just need that reassurance.
I'm starting to suspect that nobody is normal. You know, nobody is
We've
like...
actually talked about... We talked about doing... about therapy. Because if you feel there's nothing wrong with you... I'm not saying I'm...
Who does, though?
Yeah,
I've never met anybody.
Anyone, yeah.
Think about the people that you know really well, that you actually know. Yeah. They all have issues, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Definitely.
We all have hurts and pains. Yeah, definitely. Life isn't easy for anyone.
I had this child tell me that. He's like, you know what my mommy always says? Life is hard. I was just like, this little like 3-year-old is telling me this. Well, I think she was like 4 or 5, but I was like, oh, okay. I think I needed to hear that today.
You know what's crazy? I picture like how that child heard that, like the mom, life is hard, like,
right?
like she gets drunk and like vents to the kid.
Yeah,
but you know, like and even though everybody goes through things, I think that it's all about how like people respond to it. Like sometimes things can affect us into our adulthood negatively in the way that we treat others or treat ourselves, and sometimes, you know, things can weigh on us, but we're still functional and able to love and able to like take care of ourselves to a degree. So maybe not everyone is quote unquote normal, but maybe not everybody needs healing, right? Like some people do, some people don't. But for our listeners out there, like, you know,
our 5 listeners, not just kidding.
My mom,
you know,
my mom, my dad,
my ex-girlfriends, no. Like, so far our listeners out there who might be interested in seeking out help, like I've heard different barriers. Some people say, you know, I don't think I have the money, I don't have the insurance. Like, how did you get started?
Honestly, like honestly, if you're going through a rough patch or a rough time in your life, like you don't, in life, okay, money is like a token. Like it's cool to have, but it's not what, like, it's not necessary, I guess, to put it, you know. Like, it is necessary, of course. You want to get fed, and, you know, you want to have your little like your luxuries or whatever, but, you know, it's not the most important thing, you know. I think just focus on what makes you happy, you know. Like, think of a career that you feel like you would be happy going to every day, and just do it, you know. Even like going to a grocery store, like if you like food, work at a grocery store, you know. I worked in a grocery store because I like vegetables, you know. It's like, and then at the end of the day, just fill your thoughts with good stuff, you know. Like, fill your mind with like, okay, today's gonna be a good day. Like, literally a reassurance every day makes a big difference to your day. Yeah.
For me, like, one thing I always wanted to be involved with was, well, I wanted to do this for many years ago, and I wanted to be involved with film, and that's why I met a friend who I met these guys, and I just started getting involved with them, and it does change your life.
Yeah,
like, you start involving yourself with. I love you guys. I just it
feelings mutual.
It does, like. I mean, because you can talk about something that you're passionate about with, like, even if it's somebody you love but they're not interested in, it can be they can let you down.
Yeah,
with the
disheartening.
Yeah, and then you meet a stranger that's involved in the thing you love, and you can have a way more meaningful conversation.
Yeah.
And then,
I have to use the restroom.
Oh yeah, go for it.
This is cool.
Can we talk about me for a bit?
Yeah, let's talk about. So Gaspar, curly hair is in right now. No, I'm just kidding.
No, continue on with your thoughts.
What are we watching now?
We're taking a break right now.
This is Good Luck.
What is this?
Good lunch?
Good Luck Chuck.
Good luck, Chuck. Oh,
Dan Cook back when he was relevant.
Oh, yeah. I've seen this. No. Yeah, I've seen this. Which Jessica is in this one?
Simpson.
Alba. Okay.
I don't know what's Jessica.
Yes, we're finally in the place where we can declare celebrities irrelevant publicly.
Did anybody want to?
Yeah, I wanted to take a look at this because this is this. I was gonna ask, like, is there? So I have friends.
Listeners, he's looking at the book.
I'm looking at at her catalog.
This.
Yeah, but I have a friend who's a painter, and he used to show me, like, oh, that's pretty. That's all I would say. But now, like, I start, especially, you know, because
it's like Tinder for art.
Well, no. Like, if Picasso was around, you'd want to ask him, like, dude, what's up with that? You know, what's up with this lines right here? You know, and the good thing about, like, some of the artists that we know, like some of those I have on the wall, dude, they're within our grasp still, and they can tell you stuff about it.
They're not famous yet.
No, well, I mean, they're good, but yeah, they're within our reach. And you can ask them. And I want to ask her, like, is there a significance to the colors of the balloons?
Right. Ask me?
No, not you. What the fuck?
So they were
what the hell? Can you, Gaspar? What the fuck would I want to ask you?
Let me Google it. So
no,
they had Picasso stuff at San Francisco a few years ago, and my brother wanted to take me and my dad, and he was like, "Yeah, let's go see Picasso." And my dad's like, "No, that guy paints a bunch of bullshit." What's about Picasso?
Really?
Yeah.
How old is your brother?
No, my dad said that.
Oh, your dad said
that. My dad, yeah. My old-fashioned dad said that Picasso. He said, pinta puras pendejadas.
When you were gone, I was gonna something I was gonna ask you. Is there a significance to the color of the balloons, or is it just
Of the balloons? Oh, it's just having the primary colors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
no significance. Just I wanted to make
Nice.
For me, like I said before, it's like okay, I can see green, blue, yellow, and red. Like those are primary. But when I looked into the light, it was like being able to see the different shades of green, the different shades of blue. Like it literally, I felt like when I was looking into nature, I can see different shades of green. Like it was interesting. Yeah.
That's okay. All right. Yeah, I was just telling him I wanted to ask about everything here. Like this, the little outline where the seed would be.
To me, it made me think of a guitar.
Yeah, but like
music.
no one would think like that has significance at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So another thing I was gonna ask you, because when you talk about therapy, it's you ever when you were a kid, you remember Halloween haunted houses, and you would ask the person that went through it, how is it? Is it scary? That's how it is as an adult, asking about therapy. Like, do they make you say I just wonder about certain things. Like, do you think you see yourself as a friend with your therapist? Is that what it turns into? They have to cut it off at a certain point when it gets too
personal.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like a relationship that builds up. At this point, I still keep it very professional, but like for me, I've never seen my therapist in person.
Oh, really?
No, she was assigned to me, but basically I hear from her like every week, every other week, phone call. We schedule appointments.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but
that sounds like something I could probably do.
Yeah. And then that was an alternative to seeing the therapist, but for me it was like I told the people that I was working with, I was like, hey, like I don't feel like I can make it there because I have PTSD right now, and during that time even going to work was very difficult for me. Like I would drive and like I would cry because I had so many flashbacks, and like I would get to work and I'm like putting eye drops in my eye, trying to walk in with a smile. Like every time I would walk in with a smile and like acted like nothing was bothering me, and then once I was at work, nothing did bother me because my attention's focused on the children. Yeah. And their problems are my problems now. So my problems don't matter, But yeah, like
PTSD.
It's a real thing. Like, I never thought I even had PTSD because back then, before this happened too, I always I had social anxiety, but I feel like everything that happens to you, you conquer it through just doing things.
Yeah.
Being active. Yeah.
When you were diagnosed with PTSD, I don't know what my question was going to be. Sorry. Because PTSD to me seems like
post-traumatic stress disorder.
It's more than just war zones.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's more than just war zones. And like as a person who grew up in a neighborhood where I saw a lot of dead bodies, and it kind of affected me as an adult. Like I think more people have it than we realize.
I did hear somewhere that like if you live in the hood, you have at least mild PTSD, but that doesn't seem to be
Freedom
your
Riders. No, I don't know. I don't know that. I'll be back.
No, I think there's, and it's more, and like trauma is trauma. It doesn't have to be you killing or seeing someone killed in front of you, or you killing someone in order for you to have emotional trauma. Sometimes trauma can come from, I'm not going to say any names, but I have a friend who was in a toxic relationship. He's in a new one. And not a new toxic relationship, but like a new healthy one. And this is the type of deal where like the girl deliberately left text messages so he could, like, on her phone in the middle of the room, lit up, so that maybe he might stumble across something where it's, oh, she's cheating, right? To drive him away, rather than just have a conversation with the man like an adult and say, hey, I'm not into this anymore. And then, like, years later, he's waking up and catching his new girlfriend texting, and he's like, who are you talking to? I'm just texting your mom about having lunch later. The poor man is scarred for life. Yeah. He can't have a normal thing because of, You know, and it's sad, but that to me is an example of PTSD, right? Because it's having these flashbacks over someone doing something completely innocuous and innocent.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Like,
for me, that was like getting in a car. You know, like just being in a car itself was really traumatizing for me after this happened. Yeah, like even if my mom was driving, I would be crying. She's like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just feel like we're going really fast." You know?
Were you in a car accident?
No, it was just because
that's how the incident started.
Yeah, because of the incident.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, got it.
So I was picked up, in a vehicle, and I was taken, against my will, and basically, person was driving, and it's just PTSD right there,
A question about that: how is it hard? Like, of course it's hard, but have you talked about this in particular, like this? I mean, we're not strangers, but
not like with a group like this. No, never. I literally, I've only.
Thank you for sharing that with us, because that's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, like because I met you a couple of times, and like you have a very bubbly personality, and when you told me to share my story, I never imagined that at all.
Yeah.
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 Other than us, like, of course you're therapist, but you don't. That's not something I'm sure you talk about often. No. And
Yeah. I think the only people that I've shared this with was like my manager at work, and only one of my coworkers that I work with, like one of the teachers. And I felt like it was necessary though. I felt like it was absolutely necessary to share that, because I was having a hard time at work, like the first few like days that I was there. It was just hard. It was very difficult. Yeah.
Because it's not always, like, I know that the like a common belief is talking makes it feel better, and I've experienced it with people that told me other things, that something that troubled them that happened, like in experiences. That's not always the case. Like talking about it doesn't always make it feel better.
I think it has to do with who you're talking to. Because like when I was going through, like, that's just some of my trauma, but like my mom, for example, she was married, and the man that she married sexually abused me. So opening up to my mom, who you would think like your parent is the most supportive, like that wasn't the case, and I remember talking to my friends, and I still didn't feel better, I'm like, because they don't know what to tell you. They're not a therapist. They don't know, like they'll be like, oh, that just sucks. So you hear the word sucks, like that sucks, and you're just like, damn, yeah, my life sucks. And that's all you can think about, but if you were telling that to a therapist would be like, I understand, your feelings are valid, so you're just hearing this like different feedback. And I think that makes all the difference. So that's why it's important that, like, when you are going through things, just be mindful of who you're telling and what they're really telling you, because we're like energy, like if I tell you like, oh, like, just, I don't know, if I give you like bad vibes, like you should listen to those vibes. Maybe don't hang out with that person, because, but we learn through experience. We learn through giving. Even I've given off bad vibes before, I learned through that. So, I mean, we just learn through each other,
Man, I
that's deep.
That's I'm sorry that's happened to you. Whatever you're doing though, like, it seems to be working for you. So I really, man, I'm glad that you're have you like spoken to people who've been victims of this, like, have you done something like that, or is that something maybe in the future?
Not necessarily spoken to victims, like I've had people, like talk to me, and they share things with me, and I'm like, wow, like, like basically I feel like because of what I went through and because of the help that I've received, I'm able to give that back. So when I've had people tell me, like, women, like a recent friend that I just met, like, shared some very deep stuff with me as well, and like coming from where I come from, like I was able to give her that feedback, like, not that, oh, that sucks, or, oh, like, what are you gonna do, like, of course she's gonna question herself, but it's not, like, I just have to give her those good vibes, so she can at least leave on a positive note, and maybe tell her, therapy really does work, and just being courteous and helping her find that light that she needs.
I think in general, as a society, we don't understand sexual abuse that well. At least when I have conversations, it happens more than at least we men know it happens.
Yeah.
I think I know more women that have experienced it than the ones that haven't. And then you talk about things like consent. You know, it's, sometimes it's just a misunderstanding of consent. And
yeah, and you know, as you just brought up something that is it's a good, well, as I got older, certain family members brought up stuff that happened to them, and it's like, holy shit, like
yeah,
that thing
and you
happens
know,
way more than.
It's not just the girls either.
Right.
I have a relative. I'm not gonna say, but
no names at all.
Men, I had like a male relative break down in tears, and told me about his abuser, and he just said, you know, God help me, I hate him, and just cried right there in my arms, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think.
Well, yeah, that's a hard one because I don't know what to say to that. You know, like when I've had people tell me their experiences, like that's a hard, you know, yeah, like, that's the first thing that like sometimes comes out of your mouth. That sucks. So like I do think like it needs to be talked about more to be able to.
I mean, it's different when it's a peer. Yeah. It's someone my own age, but this is like someone old enough to be my dad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is like a father figure, and I'm just like, I can't believe I've got to. I don't know what to do with that. You're the person I'm supposed to come to and be like, yo, this is what I'm going through, you know. But it's tragic all the way around, you know. Like
positive stuff. So you said you want to. Sorry, you said you want to try singing.
Oh yeah.
I strongly I did 2.5, 3 years of singing at CCC. It takes I don't know if you like sing on your own or whatever. I didn't.
Sing a song. No,
I never sang.
Everybody gets down in the shower, right?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
that was the thing, right? So
oh yeah, he did. I saw me a video. He was what's it called? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, and it takes a couple of years for your voice to start to come out, but yeah, I would recommend that. Acting, you said as well. You would want to try that. Yeah. I suck at it. I do it, but I suck at it. But it's really fun. Yeah. Anything else that you're like, I want to try this that's within reach that you think you might want to.
Oh, that I would like to do. So we said singing, acting,
ILP video. You got us for that.
Publishing a book.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I would love to have a show. You know, that would be cool.
What kind of show?
Maybe like female, like I would want the audience to be predominantly female.
The audience.
Something that, you know, is basically encouraging. Kind of like, I don't know if you guys ever remember, this is more on the Spanish shows, but Cristina.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you know, I love her.
I love that show.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say like I remember all the shows, like all the episodes, but like I just remember that woman and like how she would talk and how she would carry herself.
She'd
and like
bring all those big stars.
Yeah, she brought Selena in there once.
Yep. The Oprah of the
Latin world.
There's this other woman too. Her name is Laura. I think she's from Peru, but I don't know. She brings a lot of drama into her show.
Yeah, and I think some of it was staged too. Yeah, it was like Jerry Springer, but the Latino version.
Yeah. Did you ever watch? There was this lady. It was just like Cristina, Maritere.
I remember that one too.
Yeah, I really liked her. It was a bit of a smarter show, but anyways, I was just
pretentious.
Yeah.
No, she wasn't pretentious at all.
You mean like Charlie Rose when you say smarter? Like
that's what
I remember.
Smiley
is that so? You know, as Latinos, we have a lot of biases. Like I remember she had a prostitute one time, you know, and she didn't like say, hey, that's wrong and this and that, which is kind of the Latino mentality we have. Yeah. Instead, she mentioned things like her safety, that, you know, she can't do it for her forever, things like that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Constructive criticism. Good. Yeah. Making people consider where they really are in life. That's excellent.
Yeah.
And how far are you in getting the book done right now?
So
like, I know you sent me the thing, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah. I've actually sent my book to 2 publicators, so 2 publications, and I've heard back from both, and both, you know, with a yes. So like, I have the go. I just haven't gone along with it because there's a contract involved, and then there's money involved, and like I said, you know, money is not like there. You know, it's not there for me. I have, you know, things that I have to take care of. You know, but I feel like what I've been focusing on lately is just like, you know, putting myself out there, you know, meeting people, like the common people that, you know, like what I like, you know, like the shows, you know, I've met a lot of cool people, and like that's just inspiring for me and keeps me going. But in the long run, I definitely maybe, you know, I don't know, do scholarships, you know, like since I'm still enrolled in school, like that's a way that I can get funding, is, you know, apply for scholarships. And
so if by some miracle someone listening to this and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna pay for her publication, where can they find you?
Or I would say my social media, you know, definitely you can reach out.
Okay.
It's not like I'm like totally popular there, you know, like I feel like I have a lot of good content and stuff, but you know, like I'm not recognized yet. Yeah.
We're at almost 2.5 hours. I just want to tell you thank you for coming by, and you definitely I don't think anyone shared something that quiet. I mean, there's been some stuff, but like I just think I admire, because everything you're doing and based on everything you've already experienced, I'm in shock. But I really, I'm trying to think of the right thing. Help me out here. You know, we're all thinking it. Like,
no, definitely.
It's inspiring.
Like, yes, it is inspiring. It is uplifting. I have to say that we are a young podcast. We haven't been doing this very long.
Six episodes.
This is the most moving episode we've ever done. Like, listeners can't see, and no one here can. But I had to keep all my professional fortitude to not cry during some of your stories. And thank you for bearing it feels like you bared off yourself here today. And we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And Naturaleza _
with 2 E's.
With 2 E's. With the Z and the Naturaleza.
Yes.
That's where we can find you.
Mm-hmm, that's where you can find me.
Okay. And Facebook?
Facebook would be my full name. So that's my artist name. My artist name is Dani California. My Instagram is Naturaleza Siempre. Oh, by the way, talking about Naturaleza Siempre, I always thought about a novela. This is another dream. I always thought about a novela, and I feel like that's what I would title it. You know
what?
One.
I don't think I've ever heard of like a American-made novella.
Yeah, and that's what that's literally you're going through my head right now, because I'm thinking that like I would love to be a little bit of Spanglish, you know, mainly English, but just like throw those little Spanish words out there. You know what I mean? Just because I would love to cater to like an audience.
We were talking about, I mentioned it, I'm going to record a Spanish podcast. Mm-hmm. So maybe one day you can come back and we can do something like that.
Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah.
But thank you for coming by, dude. I appreciate your story. It's fascinating, and I look forward to the book.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You guys have any?
No, thank you. Check her out. She does a lot of stuff, modeling, painting, or drawing.
Oh, yeah. Any upcoming shows? We just went Friday to the show. You got any upcoming shows?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay.
No, but I mean, if you stay connected with me through social media, I usually post whatever I'm doing. So, yeah.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
You guys, thank you for joining the Voice Party, and we're out.
Thank you.